You're listening to Wharton Business Daily
on Business Radio.
Wharton Business Daily on Sirius XM 132. Dan Loney with you. We're live for 2 hours every weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific, and then our show replays later in the day, 8 p.m. East, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Also invite you to download the Wharton Business Daily podcast, which allows you to listen to interviews we've done on the show. Those interviews posted every Tuesday and Thursday, downloaded from platforms like Pandora, Apple, and others. Download the Wharton Business Daily podcast today. Twitter is in the midst of a move to see how it can help its users become more involved in the world of cryptocurrency. But in an interview with Twitter CFO Ned Siegel with the Wall Street Journal, he also brought forward some interesting comments. Siegel saying that investing in crypto assets like Bitcoin didn't make sense right now. Take those comments at face value, and it makes you wonder kind of where the path is for Twitter. But then again, maybe it also does make a little bit of sense. Nina Trentman is bureau chief for the CFO Journal with the Wall Street Journal. She leads their coverage on corporate finance and joins us right now. Hello, Nina. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And I heard that comment, I saw it in your article, and it did make me think a moment, because you would think that, the CFO of Twitter, thinking about a company that wants to get its users more involved in the world of cryptocurrency, would be very much all in. But then again, you also have to take a look, I guess, at the volatility of the asset in general. And maybe Siegel is talking about right this moment and maybe not longer term.
Yeah, that's a good point that you're raising. I think there's two things here. So on the one side, Twitter last week said that it was assembling this Twitter crypto team to look into ways to help creators on its app to earn money or to use cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin for payment. And on the other side, you have the corporate finance department that Mr. Siegel is leading, and that thinks about ways how to deploy the company's cash and cash equivalents, and thinks about good investments for that cash. And at least at the moment, based on what Mr. Siegel told us for this story, there's a clear divide between sort of potentially seeing more use cases for Bitcoin and other crypto assets on the Twitter business side as to what it's offering to users, and on the other side, what the company is doing with its corporate cash, where he currently says that they don't see it investing in Bitcoin or other crypto assets, specifically because of the volatility in these assets that we've seen in recent years.
Would it be safe to say that maybe that's the mindset of a lot of companies right now, is that they're just not sure in terms of their capital of whether or not cryptocurrency is an investment landscape? Now, a lot of companies, I think, are that way. Tesla may be the lead company that is kind of the other way, that really does see crypto as an investment option for it right now.
Yeah, you're right. Tesla is one of the examples, and then also companies like Square, which of course is sharing its CEO with Twitter. So Jack Dorsey is leading both Twitter and Square, which is interesting because Square has invested in crypto assets, and the CFO at the time has told me that the company was seeing it as a good way to illustrate that it has skin in the game, because Square also has Bitcoin offerings on its platform for users, whilst also seeing it as a good investment choice. But what we heard from Ned Siegel so far this week is certainly, I would say, representative of what we hear from most CFOs at large U.S. corporates. They are all saying, or many of them are saying, that they're watching Bitcoin and other crypto assets, but at the time they're seeing it as too risky an asset to invest in, with many of them opting to invest their cash in securities or other low risk assets. So volatility is one problem, and then the other one is also that there are no specific accounting rules for such assets, and so that makes it harder on the accounting side, which is something that CFOs and finance professionals, of course, are also aware of.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would think the regulatory side, and you mentioned accounting, is maybe one of the most things from a finance officer's chief's viewpoint that you want to see more develop in the weeks and months ahead, before you really, you go further down that path?
Yeah, it's something that we've seen companies ask for in terms of comment letters to U.S. Standard setters, asking for a range of things, including specific rules on how to account for crypto assets and other assets for which there's currently no specific rules. We don't know yet if it's something that the standard setters will take up as an item in terms of their agenda, because at the moment many of them are saying, well, there's not really that many companies that are using these assets or that are investing in these assets. So is this really something for which we have to craft rules? And when you talk to CFOs, they're saying, well, there's a reason for why there aren't many companies that are investing in this yet, which is one, volatility, which is probably not going to go away with Bitcoin anytime soon and other crypto assets. But then also, second one is lack of these accounting rules, which probably for some would make it easier to invest in these assets if there were specific rules.
So if you can, tell us a little bit more about what this Twitter crypto team is looking to do. And I'm wondering, in the course of the development of that part of the Twitter operation, is there a potential path where, success of Twitter crypto team might have a benefit in terms of where Siegel is thinking about, potential investment by Twitter in the crypto world?
So Ned Siegel told us that the crypto team that the company set up was or is part of the product development team, and sort of isn't closely connected to the finance function or closely connected to his department. He wasn't very specific as to sort of in how far there would be direct interaction between the finance function and this team.
Yeah.
But I would assume that over time one would see what this team comes up with, how specific the use cases are that they're coming up with, and then also see in how far there is a specific product that Twitter might launch, which could then also, of course, accelerate this conversation within the company as to whether, if they then at some point have a product related to this, if that could also then lead to a different view on whether this might be a good investment for the company or not.
Are there other elements then that Siegel would like to see play out that would in potentially give him more confidence in thinking about Twitter as an investment option for the company moving forward? You mentioned about the accounting rules, but I'm wondering if there are other things that he sees that are necessary to play out before it would become a more attractive option.
Well, one thing, of course, is that the company would have to change its investment policy, sort of the investment frameworks that the company has, which define which assets the company can invest in and which ones are currently off the table. Tesla did this before they invested in Bitcoin. So that's one thing that he said the company would have to do. And yeah, I think apart from that, the volatility and the accounting rules were the other two main things that he was mentioning during our interview.
Nina, thank you very much for your time today. Greatly appreciated. All the best.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Nina Trentman, who is a bureau chief for CFO Journal with the Wall Street Journal.